and welcome to this little chat about the intuitive path to health and wellness over 40. My name's Brenda Rogers, and I'm going to introduce myself a little bit later. But just wanted to explain the title because it really is a culmination of noticing in clinic what women are presenting with and my own journey, and noticing that how I take care of my 21-year-old clients is quite different to taking care of my 51-year-old clients or something around there. And I really enjoy treating people with the respect that they've earned from having been on the planet for 50 years or 45 years or 40 years plus. And I think that that's sometimes a little bit rare. So, I often hear from these clients that they and naturopaths are often the last person that somebody comes to. So they've been to the GP and they've been to the specialist, and they've done either one of two things. They've gone, I don't want any more of that. I just, I'm over medical profession, and she's coming back. I'm over the medical profession, and I want to do I'm just looking for alternatives now. And there's quite a lot of people I notice in that age range who are kind of looking for something natural. And I think a lot of women at midlife start to explore their healing capabilities. The things that they've been challenged with most of their lives, they suddenly are starting to explore deeper levels of who they are. And I love that. I love supporting that, because lots of beneficial things coming out of that. And that is what I'm going to explain a little bit later, why that is so important. So I also see these women who've been to the GPs and the specialists and all that kind of thing, and they're still happy to work with those medical professionals because they like them and they respect them, which I think they deserve. Most of them anyway. But it's not working well enough, and they start to think, I need a holistic approach, or my condition isn't an illness. That's the other thing that comes up. My condition, what's going on for me is not an illness. I'm just not taking care of myself well enough. I'm not sleeping well enough. I'm not eating well enough. I know that what I'm left with in my body is because I'm not doing all of these things. But I don't know why, and I don't know what to do about it. So the other thing I think that I see a lot of is the dismissal of women and the dismissal of the symptoms, and that dismissal of the symptoms can be a dismissal of women. And I think that the tendency of the medical profession to try and diagnose through testing alone. So what's gone is the comprehensive case history. They don't have time for that. The other thing that's gone is the examination, the observation, and the palpation, getting the stethoscope out and listening and all those kinds of things. That's largely gone as well. And so there's this, they really need to rely on the tests. And if they haven't ordered the particular test that's going to hit the particular thing, or it's the body's compensating so well that the test results aren't too far out of whack, which also happens, then the result can be the tests are fine, you're fine, there's nothing I can do. And so, and I like working with women like that, because I like working with their GPs and special, less so the specialists, but I like working with their GPs because they tend to be a little bit more open to natural things. And when I can work collaboratively and say, oh, darling, you need to go and get your iron tested, go off, and they've got a friendly doctor in their court, then that's quite wonderful. So I don't know if you resonate with any of those things as far as your wellness status right now. If there's anything else that I haven't really covered, you know, the kind of the status quo of women in their mid-40s when menopause starts to hit. There's the you know, I'm not ever going to go to a GP, I'm just going to go and do it myself. Those women don't tend to come onto my webinars because they've got it all handled. So yeah, it fits. Most people fit into those kinds of categories. So I hope you can sort of relate. And what I want you to hear is that I believe that midlife women are highly competent, highly skilled, highly valuable, and you deserve to be treated that way. You deserve to be listened to, your symptoms. And I've had to learn this myself. I'll just deviate a little bit here into introducing myself. Yes, I'm a naturopath. I practice from home. I'm at home right now in my little office, which I won't spin my computer around, but I love working from home. I'm in the Hills District. I have a fiance. We've been together 12 years and we're getting married in November. His beautiful daughter is my beautiful stepdaughter, and she's 17. So we're having the delight of co-parenting, co-step parenting, or duplicate parenting, whatever it is, a 17-year-old. And I think that we're doing pretty well with that. I love being in the kitchen. I'm studying at the moment the GAPS protocol. And honestly, if I had any idea of how much work it was, I would probably have thought twice about it in the year that I'm also trying to organise a wedding, because it's huge. It's huge. And I thought I knew a lot about nutrition. Oh my gosh, I am learning so much. And don't know if I could officially call myself an expert yet, but gosh, there is just so much beautiful, wonderful nutritional knowledge that I think heals just about everything. So if you have any questions tonight about nutrition, it's all in my head, darlings. It's all in my head. So that's a little bit about me. I specialise in midlife women's health and secondarily midlife men's health. And also those women tend to have daughters and not so much sons, but they have daughters, and I do a lot with their daughters as well. And I do a lot of what I call a hearth keeper program. I teach young women how to be the hearth keeper, which is basically owning and reclaiming and enjoying their kitchens again. And by that, they take care of the garden and they take care of the first aid of the family. And they have, you know, all their little medicines that are all natural. And I teach all that stuff. And I love that. I love that. So just want to acknowledge you for being here and listening to me. Some of you know me already and some of you don't. And I'm grateful for that. We are recording, so others will get to see this as well. So let's go on with our topic of the intuitive path to well-being after 40. And I wanted to give you 3 tips. We've only got a brief time together and I can't give you everything, obviously, but I want to give you 3 tips. And some of these might sound simplistic, but I want to explain it a little bit more in the context of the wise women's perspective and midlife women's perspective. So the first one is to learn to listen to your body. And I know that everyone says that, but it's not that easy. Like, how do you do that? So how do you actually do that? Maybe you can type it in the chat box for me. How does one learn to listen to one's body? Getting sick is actually a great way. Getting sick demands that you listen. Pain disorders are huge for that. Pain, if you have pain in your body, that is a signal that you are not listening to your body. So learning to listen to your body is something that requires presence. And one of the things that is fairly common with all those ladies, all those sort of scenarios that I was explaining earlier, I find most of the women, if not all of them, are in fear. And we do live in a fear-based culture, and our medical profession is extremely fear-based. You have to get your breasts removed just in case you get cancer. Like there's real fear in there. Now, fear, the antidote to fear is presence. And so one of the ways to learn to listen to your body is to cultivate presence. And there will be your way of doing that. For some people, it's yoga. I did a lot of yoga, and I just thought the whole time. I would be thinking the whole time. And the only time I stopped thinking is when I'd get an instruction from the teacher, and I think, I better listen to that, otherwise I'll end up different to everyone else in the room. But I'm analytical. I'm Virgo. I've got master's degree. I've spent most of my life up here strategizing and thinking and planning and theorizing and studying and all that kind of stuff. And so coming down into my body is not a quick, easy thing. I was explaining this to a woman the other day. As soon as we're old enough in the crib, we're getting keys kind of jangled at us to distract us and to focus our attention outside of ourselves. And it's not wrong, it's not bad, it just is. But when you're in the mind is pretty much the past or the future, and they're the only places that fear can exist. And so when it comes to your wellness and learning to listen to your body, and especially when you have conditions or symptoms that may be a little bit scary, the tip really is to start when it's just a bit of diarrhea or just a random thumb joint pain or a headache occasionally. Learn to listen then, so you don't have to wait until the big guns come out, and that can be a lot harder to turn around. But it never is too late. So we're just going to do a quick 1-minute presence activity, and I'm going to get you to sit comfortably in your chair, and if you're willing and able, close your eyes and give yourself permission to take some deeper breaths, particularly the long breath. Focus on the long breath out. The long breath out. Focus on lengthening the out breath. That's your yin breath, the out breath. And that's what activates the parasympathetic nervous system, calms you down very quickly. So just 2 or 3 breaths and you can be much, much calmer. Allow your shoulders to drop away from your ears. Allow your belly to soften. We hold so much unconscious tension in the belly and the buttocks. Consciously release it. And notice the extra space for a deeper breath. Take your time with the breath, make it leisurely. So from your awareness of your breath, your awareness of your breath will bring you to become aware of the rise and fall of your chest, which is located roughly at your heart center. So one of the first steps is to really focus on the breath, feel into your heart space. Our heart energy is a source of, and yawning is fine, yawning is a release. Our heart space is a source of wisdom and intelligence in our body. So learning to listen to our heart gives us access to incredible wisdom. Just take a breath in and out through your heart space. Just come back to normal breath. And then what I want you to do is to lower your awareness down to an inch or two below the belly button and in towards the spine for what's called the dantian or the lower dantian. In Korea, danjon. In Japan, hara. Martial arts, it's often called the dantian. We're going to call it the womb space. Access to yin energy. And access to a different kind of wisdom than the heart. We have all this wisdom in our bodies. Oh my gosh. Whatever you're experiencing, whether you're popping off into thinking, doesn't matter. Just keep coming back. If you've had a little bit of womb trauma or womb not so niceness, just come back up to your heart. Let's just take a couple more breaths here, either in your heart space or in your womb space. Really enjoy being in the body. And then when you're ready, you can open your eyes. So that's tip number one. And that's obviously an ongoing practice. You need to be doing something where you're being taught or encouraged to practice. So yoga can be great. I often think of the surfers out on the waves. That must be a great place to learn how to be Zen. I'd love that. It might be your pottery wheel. It might be, communing with the veggies in the garden. It doesn't have to be Om meditation. I do use an app, meditation app, to get me in the space in the mornings. So now my tip number two. Tip number two is the other end of the spectrum. It's to eat more fat, and in particular to eat more animal fat. And now obviously that's contrary to everything we've heard for the last 50 years, which, by the way, if you look at the scorecard for that advice, is not that great. So let's throw that advice out. Low fat diets, all that kind of thing. Avoid animal fats, eat less meat, that kind of thing. We have an epidemic of degenerative disease at the moment. So maybe, and food is the basis of health. Maybe that advice is misguided. Maybe we just need to at least put our skeptic hat on. If not, throw it all out altogether. but beautiful, fresh, healthy, lovingly grown animal fat is essential for hormonal health. It's essential for brain health, essential for gut health, and it's essential for lung health. We need fats for our mucous membranes. We need fats for hormone production. They're the raw materials. Cholesterol is the raw material for estrogen. Our brain is half fat, half protein. Our bodies are half fat, half protein. If you take the water out, half fat, half protein. So the kinds of fats that I'm talking about are full fat dairy products, particularly cultured dairy products, so cultured butter, yogurt, kefir, sour cream, buttermilk, whey, those kinds of things. And in other cultures, if you have any access to other cultures, I've got a Afghan client at the moment, and she talks about the labne, Labne, and it's basically the curds. When you take your yogurt and you let it sit in the nut milk bag or the cheesecloth, and the whey comes out, and you use that for fermenting your veggies. What's left is this sour cream or cream cheesy kind of stuff that's fermented, great on crackers, or it's creamier than yogurt, but has that similar flavour. You can mix it in with chives or herbs and spices, and this is a wonderful fermented dairy, full-fat dairy that you can teaspoon or tablespoon in your soups. These kinds of things add these beautiful probiotics into the digestive system, as well as the fats. Eggs, amazing, especially pasture raised. I learned today, even in a webinar, that the big supermarkets have a way of suspending the freshness or suspending the life of eggs, so they can. It's a bit like what they do with bananas. They pick them green. They're in a big warehouse, and then they just gas them when they're ready to come out onto the shelves. And they do something similar with eggs, and they don't mark them use by date until they are ready to go to the shelves. And so wouldn't it be great if we put on eggs the day they were laid rather than the use by date? Wouldn't that be a little bit more accountable? So eggs are amazing, but quality eggs that you need to really buy from local producers. To be a good kitchen goddess, you really need to source local producers of things. And it's such a joy to learn to do that, to find your local cheese man and your local egg man and your local milk cow. I'd love a milk cow. If anyone's got a milk cow. Where were we? And then, of course, all the animal honey man. Yeah, you need your honey lady or your honey man as well. The other beautiful fats are in fatty meats. So slow cooked, cheap cuts give you beautiful cartilage and collagen and gelatin and all these beautiful proteins that are absolutely great for joint health. So if you have joint pain, it's probably you're not eating enough fats, or you're not eating enough of these collagen-rich gelatinous meats that are so beneficial. And of course the stocks and broths from these things. So when you make your stock or your broth, make sure there's parts in there that have a joint. So you want, I made fish broth over the weekend, which does stink the house out, but I went to the fish place. I bought a whole fish. I asked them to fillet it for me. So I had in one bag the fillet, one paper bag the fillets, and the other paper bag everything else, the fins, the head, the eyeballs, all of that. And that went into the stock pot. And I made this beautiful gelatinous fish stock, which we then made like a fish stew, fish soup out of, and that kind of stuff is so nourishing. It's liquid protein. It's, if you have any blood sugar issues or diabetes or hypoglycemia or weight around the middle or anything like that, and you need to increase your protein and your fats. And you know, I think a cup of chicken broth is much, much better for afternoon pick me up than a cup of coffee. You just need to be a bit more organized to get it. Any questions? I might just let you ask some questions right now. Invite you to ask some questions. And Samantha, I'm not sure if you're busy doing things, but you're most welcome to be engaged in this process, and either type in the chat or something. Any questions? Oh, I like the thumbs up. Thank you, darling. Will I keep going? Okay. I think I'll got a few things here to talk about. I think one it might come to later, or we might not have time for that one. We'll see. The third point, the third tip that I want to give you, because it's a little bit it's a little rebellious in a way. It's a little, I think once women awaken to natural medicine and move away from fear-based medicine and immerse themselves in nutrition and herbs and healing, and start to awaken to what's going on in our corporate culture and corporate food production, and you know, you start to get a little bit cynical. You start to realize, you know, margarine isn't really better than butter for heart disease and these types of things. And then, so what I'm saying isn't really revolutionary if you're in that place already. And I think they're the kinds of people that I attract to my webinars anyway. So I think I'm preaching to the choir. But my third tip is to honor your symptoms. And the way I'd like to illustrate this is like to invite someone from here who's brave to share with us. I know that we are being recorded and it is a bit of a vulnerable request. So if put your hand up with all of that knowledge. But I just would like to ask someone to share a couple of their symptoms, and for us just to explore the honouring aspect of that. So anyone willing to be, you can give me a thumbs up or a woo, yes, I'll do it. Oh, Sue Ellen, brave.
Okay.
So just a little, you know, who are you and what are your little concerns health-wise that you might want to share with us?
Okay. My health concerns started a couple of years ago, hit menopause, couldn't sleep, put on masses of weight, went a bit nuts, cried all the time. Also then started the joint pain, plantar fasciitis, hips, you know, hurting, things like that. What else? Oh,
I think that's
quite
enough.
Stressed. That's enough. There you go. Yes, I've got it. So there you go.
So pick one for me. Pick one. Just maybe anyone. Just pick one.
Well, do you know what? I think joint pain, it has really changed in the last couple of months. And you did tell me to eat better fats and, you know, not just fats in chocolate, but better ones. And I've eaten much more fats this year than what I have for a long time, because I was one of those ones that got told, low fat everything. Don't use butter. I use good olive oil, but I definitely have improved in that, and I
Right.
think it has made a big difference.
Wonderful. So this is not necessarily you, Sue Ellen, but I just want to illustrate with your example. So where your joint pain is significant. And this is what I mean by the honouring. And Janelle is a kinesiologist, so they go into this in way more specificity. But it comes into my clinical practice as well, because it's the mind, what I call the psycho-spiritual aspect of symptoms. So yes, there's inflammation. Yes, there's something missing that the body needs in order to have to have healthy joints. There's all of that going on. But why the knees, or why the thumb, or why the hips, or for me at the moment, my ankle, right? Why do they go around, move? Why first thing in the morning, and then once I get moving, they're okay? There's so many why questions for every tiny little symptom. So, for example, if you have joint pain first thing in the morning, you've been still for 8 hours, and there's toxins in your body, inflammatory toxins in your body, that have accumulated in the joints, and because you haven't moved, they haven't been able to be flushed. So that tells you your body's toxic. I use that word, not like radioactive toxic. That's a naturopathic sort of thing. Toxicity, things that are inflammatory, are creating an immune response, are unwanted, are wastes that haven't been released out of the body. And then perhaps to do with knees. Knees are represent our ability to walk forward. Our knees bend forward. Our knees hold us up. So there's all this base chakra stuff associated with knee pain. Similarly with the hips, lots of emotion stored in the hips. It's the base and sacral chakra area, so a lot of sexuality stuff gets stored in that area. Think about the Latin people who are way more able to move their hips way more than us stodgy old Westerners. And how sexually free are they? Well, they're misogynistic and all the rest of it as well, but they're less stodgy again, perhaps sexually than, and so so there's, it may not be that, it could be something else, but that those hips are they represent things. And so my comment in honoring the symptoms is not to automatically assume there's something gone wrong and I need to slap a band-aid on it, I need to replace it, I need to kill it, I need to burn it, I need to chop it out, I need to suppress it. We've done enough of that in our culture, and it's getting us into trouble. I've had a client today, and she has a family history of mental health issues. And I went back to her birth, asked, and there's a connection, I should qualify, there's a connection between mental health and gut health and nutrition, because you can't have good mental health if you're fat deficient and protein deficient, and you can't have good mental health if the bacteria are all wrong in your gut. There's a gut-brain connection. So I was getting her history about her gut health. And the first thing you ask about is, of course, is how were you born? Because if you're born cesarean, you don't pick up your mother's microbiota or your microbiome signature. She was born normally. She was breastfed. Oh, she wasn't breastfed. Okay, it's cross, right? What was her mother's health like? Because the baby can only get the mother's microbiome, and if it's not healthy, the baby's not getting healthy microbiome either, and that's what gets populated, and that's what starts, sets you up for life, really. So her mother was having issues at the time. I can't remember what they were. And then antibiotics, tonsillitis, antibiotics. And it was at a time where I think it was her daughter, actually. Her daughter had tonsillitis as well. It was in the family. And I think after we realized we were giving kids too many antibiotics, and then I think for a while you had to have so many tonsillitis bouts in 1 year before you're allowed to get them out. So, but anyway, it's all aside. So this lady had very disordered gut right from birth, and there was this pattern of all these things that had occurred along the way. And the answer isn't to cut pieces of the bowel out and all that kind of stuff, unless it's way too far. So honor your symptoms. That's my third tip, and that requires some education. It requires some curiosity, and it's well worth it. It requires a little bit of, maybe going to a Reiki class or a Touch for Health weekend, or a nutrition thing at Nature Care, or whatever. Just if you get the opportunity, go to these things. Say yes for your own self-care, for your own preservation, for your own health and family's health. So I want to now just take a few minutes to put you into breakout rooms, and I've got 2 questions that I want you to talk about. This is not a death by PowerPoint webinar. This is an interactive webinar. Samantha, I hope you might be okay with that. You might like to just private message me if you're not able to do that, because that means I don't have pairs. So if you can't, if you're on a phone or something and it's difficult to, no, you're not on a phone, so you're sideways. Or if you are on a phone and you can't type, then give me the thumbs up or the thumbs down so I know. And I might just pause the recording for the moment. So if you're listening on the recording, we'll come back. We'll be back. And welcome you back from the breakout rooms and from the 2 questions that you're answering. One was, what is your greatest fear entering midlife or menopause, depending on your age? And the second part of that question was, how would being more present help you? And I had Samantha and Nell they came back. So I'd love to hear, actually just one of you. We're running a bit behind. Sue Ellen or Julie, if you could just give us your summary of what came out of that little exercise for me. And we've heard from Sue Ellen, so I might ask Julie. Put you on the spot, darling, if that's all right. You can say no, we're grown up.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I'm trying to think what Sue Ellen told me. I know she's been through a lot, and it was nice to see Sue Ellen because I haven't seen her since the retreat, so that was nice. So yeah, but I think one thing that I probably shared was that the whole getting sick or getting things wrong with you as you get old, because you know that your parents, like I was saying, my mum had all these teeth issues. She's got all false teeth, and my dad had cancers, and now my mum's got the joint pain, and it's like, what am I going to get? And then when I got my jaw pain, I'm like, oh, it's still, and I'm just getting old. And then I thought, no, I saw a lady on the TV, she's 107. I'm not getting old. I'm going to change my mindset and just think it's not old age. I'm still young. I've got 57 years ahead of me. I can't let this little hiccup thing like become a big thing, or but yeah, you only hear about the negative things of getting old.
And darling, how would being more present help you? Did you think about that?
Yeah, well, I think like when I spoke to you, Brenda, the other day, and you said write things down, and that actually stopped it dealt with that side, because I found that I had a lot of emotion that I was holding back, and that was causing a lot of, you know, tension in my jaw. And I didn't realize how when you're actually fighting back grief and tears and emotion, you're actually, I could feel my jaw, like it's this whole, yeah, like fighting it back, because now's not a good time. I can't just burst into tears. I'm having lunch with my family or I'm sad. But once writing it down and letting it out while I wrote, got all that out of my system. And I said to Suellen that I feel like that part I've dealt with, but now I've got that physical kind of side or things that are still going on that I still have to work on. But it was just instant once no one was around. So I just sat and wrote pages and poured it out. And oh, it was the best advice to get that emotional side out of it and realize, because I knew it was there, but I didn't know how to express it.
Or that's so often the case. So thank you. Thanks, Julie.
There you
go. The two things that I find are the biggest challenges at this age or around this topic that we're talking about, there's the path to wellness, and then there's the intuitive path to wellness. And the path to wellness I find a little bit potholy and bouldery, and you know, there can be a lot of whipping going on. You know, I have to exercise, and you know, that's really the opposite of where you want to be, or ever, but particularly at this stage of your life, where kindness is really, really important. So there's that time of life. The two biggest challenges tend to be, one, knowing what we want. So we know what we don't want, and we're often experiencing a deep sense of failure at midlife because we haven't achieved all those things that we should have achieved by 50. Emphasis on the word should have. So we know what we don't want, but we don't know what we want. And then the other aspect of that is knowing what you want and then getting it, knowing what to do to get it. And they are difficult. They're knowing what you want from your womb and your heart instead of from your mind is incredibly difficult. So if you think about why you decide to eat, it can be 100 different reasons than, you know, my stomach needs lettuce, or my stomach needs chicken soup, or whatever. You know, it'll be, it's 1 o'clock, it's time for lunch. It'll be, the kids have to eat. It'll be, if I don't eat now, I'll get hungry later. It can be 100 different things. And none of them from presence. So knowing what you want, you have to be in your body, because knowing what you deeply want comes from your wisdom, which is your heart or your womb, or, you know, there's third eye wisdom. There's probably hand wisdom and foot wisdom. I haven't really used those yet, but it's not in the mind. The mind is a constant teenager who wants chocolate and doesn't want to exercise. And, you know, if we spend our whole lives listening to our minds, we'll never grow up. And by the time you get to 50, when your body's kind of not 21 anymore, you think, now must be the time to grow up, right? So I love working with people on helping them uncover what it is they want. And that's a process, because we need to get them into a place where they start to be in their bodies. And a lot of us women, myself included, from our teens, we've jumped out of our bodies and judged it harshly. And so if there's a roll or a cellulite, or, you know, we're not the weight we want to be, then, you know, we're up in our heads judging, rather than being down in our bodies, exploring our senses and our sensuality and our movement and our joy and our needs. So that's a process. There's no quick fixes when it comes to weight. There's no quick fixes when it comes to being present with your weight. so that you can actually have a different experience of connecting with your body and releasing unwanted or unnecessary weight. It is possible. And it's a process to implement. And I consider myself a really great guide for those two things, being really grounded in naturopathic wisdom, the wisdom of the body, holistic health, herbs, nutrition, that kind of thing. But also, I think I did my coach training in the early 2000s. I had no idea why I was doing it, but it's been such a gift to really cultivate coaching, the skill of coaching, which is different to teaching. At the moment, I'm teaching you. When I was sort of not even coaching, when I was talking to you, Sue Ellen, about because I was speaking generally. But coaching is one of the best tools for change management. Gentle, loving change management as you course correct your life and move towards the person you want to be. So for someone who's not quite in menopause, that is about finding boundaries, learning to say no, learning to not be too busy all the time. And you don't have to slow down. You just have to be present, actually. And then if you are into menopause, it might be dealing with, because just about every client that I have has exhaustion issues. Whether you're 40, 50, 60, it's just universal. There's fatigue, exhaustion, and all the things that lead to that, which all of the things that lead to that are all the little things that you need to work on, or you get to work on to address the energy levels, which is a beautiful thing. Doing too much, on the wrong track, not eating well enough. Those are all the things that contribute to fatigue and eventually lead to disease if you don't do anything about it. So some of you are familiar with my program that I'm launching this week, and I just want to go through it briefly with you because there's people I'm sure that would be open to having that support. And working one-on-one with me is one way. It's pricier to work one-to-one. And so, I've started to create this 3-month wellness journey that is the path to wellness, but also the intuitive path to wellness, the presence, which is so often the missing bit in so many things that we do and so many courses we sign up for, so many projects that, all those things that we try to do to fix ourselves, to the practitioners we see, or, all those kinds of things. The missing thing is the presence. And so in my own experience, cultivating presence has accelerated my personal growth unbelievably. And that's a beautiful thing, to do 500 different personal growth courses in your life and never really get it. It's pretty frustrating. So when you can know what to do, oh yeah, I've read that book. Oh yeah, I know Marianne Williamson. Yeah, Anthony Robbins is my guru. Oh yeah, I've read, the Art of Forgiveness or whatever, Radical Act of Forgiveness. I think I've read all those books, but my life still kind of doesn't work. The difference, the missing bit is presence. And so I put together this 12-week program designed to revisit. So the first week, I'll just give you an idea. The first week is sleep. We revisit sleep, not from I'm not going to treat you like you're a 5-year-old. I'm not going to teach you how to suck eggs, but, what is it that we need to look at, in terms of why am I waking at 3 a.m.? why am I sweaty? Why, it's to get curious about that and to revisit it from this wise woman's perspective. What are the women's mysteries telling us? What are, what's the moon doing? Where are you in your cycle? If you wake up in the middle of the night on full moon, you might have worms. It's not woo-woo, it's the worms come out at full moon, as do the crazy. So it's just getting curious about that and having conversations about that, and at the same time giving you challenges and giving you tools for implementing sleep strategies in week 1, and so on for the other key areas of wellness in physical wellness, intellectual, emotional wellness, and spiritual wellness. That's why it's holistic, because we want to honor symptoms. Feeling empty and ungrateful is a spiritual symptom. And so that is important to be factored in. So now, Sue Ellen, I know you're already in, and I thank you for that. There's a part of you that went, I need more of this. I need the accountability. I want to have a crack at it. So I honor you for that. Could I just ask, just as a final thing for me, before I tell you how to contact me if you're interested, could I ask you, Sue Ellen, just give me why you decided to go with it? And yeah.
Why? I need all the help I can get.
But why this? Why not, Weight Watchers or the latest fat reducing drug from the doctor, or metformin, why?
I've tried all that. So I'm a person that has done all of that, done the doctor stuff. I've done the injections from the doctor. As you know, I was a weight loss coach, and so I dropped a lot of weight. I helped a lot of people, and then the stress and menopause and a whole lot of other things made it worse again, and it came back. So I needed someone to help me heal me. So I didn't need a potion. I didn't need a tablet. I needed someone that could help me, because I knew that's the thing. When you hit menopause, everyone, you either put up with it, or you need someone that's on your side that can listen to you and say you're not a nutcase, and say that, okay, I can help you. And it's not a quick fix, okay? So you have to put the work in. So this is me putting the work in, because I want to be healthy, and I want to sleep, and I want to be mentally healthy. I want to be able to remember things. So yeah, this is me putting the work in, knowing that I have to help myself, and I need someone that's good to help me, and then I need to put the work in to help myself.
Wonderful. Oh, couldn't have said it better myself. And what did Nell say?
Yes.
Thank you for your vulnerability and openness. Yeah.
I said to Julie earlier, sometimes I think when you go through a lot of things, then you are there to help other people go through it. So sometimes you go through it to then turn around and go, people are put into your sphere for you to turn around and help them.
Yeah. So. Thank you so much. That was beautifully said. Beautifully said. So, ladies, anyone watching or watching the recording, if that appeals, you want to know more details, then all you have to do is book a discovery session with me. I can email me. You've all got my email. I'll book out 10 or 15 minutes, and I'll just let you know all the details. It is my first one, so it's a pilot, and so it's half price. And I can give all those details. I'm not going to do that now. It's late. We want to go to bed. And no obligation. I'm just happy to chat, to explore if that is something right for you right now. You might be doing other things. You might be going away for 2 weeks in May or whatever. But it does start soon. Next week is an onboarding week. So we've got time to kind of, sign up for the Facebook group and all those kinds of things. And we'll be starting with sleep the week after. So if that's something that appeals, you need to email me within 24 to 48 hours of watching this, and I will set up a great price for you. So thank you for that little thing. I think we'll go. I'll just stop the recording so that we can. Thanks for watching, recording people.